This is Optometrist Building Empires, and I'm your host, Ankit Patel. Each week, we'll explore the journey of multi-practice ownership and leadership in optometry. Join us for insights and strategies from the top minds in our field. This show is sponsored by My Business Care Team. My Business Care Team helps your office increase revenues, reduce costs, and reduce staffing headaches. Let's build your empire together. Today's guest is someone who, when I first had a conversation with him, I was in awe and very inspired by. He's a seasoned optometrist with a rich educational background and diverse professional portfolio. His contributions to the field are highlighted by several published works on practice management and his role as a consultant, where he advises practices nationwide optimizing healthcare delivery and patient care. His dedication to advancing optometry through both practical and research avenues underscores the commitment to improving patient outcomes and advancing the field. He's the co-owner of Vision Quest Eye Care, and his name is Dr. Chris Browning. Chris, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Keith.
Yeah. So let's jump into our favorite question. So what was the most important thing that helped you grow your empire?
Well, I think the main thing was, I just admitted I'm probably not the smartest guy in the room. We had, it was 2016, I remember, it was kind of a watershed moment. At that point, we were growing our practice, but we decided that we needed to go in a slightly different direction. We had a practice manager who handled a lot of the day-to-day HR issues. She handled all the bookkeeping and things of that nature. And what we decided to do was to hire a COO to manage day-to-day operations. And we were lucky enough to find somebody in Audrey, our COO, who had a lot of experience in retail. And she had come from a large multi-location retail-oriented practice. And then we kind of separated out the bookkeeping aspect of our practice as well and hired somebody locally who we could trust to handle just the bookkeeping piece, which really helped us, took some things off my plate and allowed us to get more reports in a timely manner instead of waiting on me to generate all those reports ourselves. And then really, my partner, Terry, and I said, Audrey, the retail piece, that's your main concern, and we need you to help us improve that. And so we had several goals and met with her. We still meet with her on a regular basis about those goals. And then, kind of let her, with her superior emotional intelligence, kind of handle the day-to-day with regards to our staff. And so that was, I would say, probably the biggest change that we made that really kind of set us up for, the last 8 years of growth. Along with that, prior to hiring Audrey, we realized, hey, we really need some help when it comes to billing. We had a billing person who was wonderful, who had worked for us for many, many years. And it became obvious we needed to kind of step that up as well. And so we outsourced our billing. We outsourced our IT. We had a guy who liked computers who was kind of our IT department for a while there. And we decided we needed to outsource that. And that was a huge help. Employee recruiting companies have helped us bring people in better than just, putting an ad on ZipRecruiter and getting, 400 applications and trying to go through those. And then we hired exam room scribes, which has been really helpful for our doctors. And even recently outsourced, answering the phones and things of that nature, trying to utilize remote services. And so realizing that, we weren't the best at everything and we really needed to stick to our core business and focus on patient care. That was really the biggest change that we had. We also made it a priority, along with admitting I'm not the smartest guy in the room, to make it to meetings, large national meetings like the IDOC meeting, Vision Source Exchange, the Treehouse Eyes Summit, to listen to other people that are smarter than us or have, specialties that we don't grasp or understand or we weren't trained in. And I remember the class I took in marketing in optometry school, or the class I took in billing in optometry school. I certainly don't remember any of the IT stuff. So, um, I think a lot of times you feel like when you're taking care of patients, I don't have time to go do this. I don't have time to go to that meeting or this meeting because I got to take care of patients. And what I really realized was I don't have time to not do those things. I don't have the luxury of not going to those meetings and listening to people who understand things better than I do and understand, what the people in our profession that are really innovative and really doing things different, how are they handling things? So those are the big things that I learned was I'm not the smartest guy in the room.
That's interesting. So what I'm hearing is I think Jim Collins' book kind of wrote that in Good to Great. It's
Mhm.
um well, maybe it was Jim, maybe someone, but who first, then what and how. So it sounds like it was like, okay, you know what? I can't do everything. Let me find the right people or the right companies that can help, and I'm going to focus what I'm really good at, which sounds like it's patient care.
Yeah, and in our practice, you know, we have some regional meetings, what we call wisdom sharing meetings. We have local meetings, brain trust meetings. That's, what the local nerds and I call it. And we kind of get together and share ideas and, books that we've read. I've started rereading some of those books again, the Michael Gerber E-Myth. And right now I'm going back and reading Simon Sinek's, Start With Why. Um, because after a while you start to realize, yeah, I knew that. I heard that from somewhere. Where did it come from? So I think going back and saying, I don't know everything has been the biggest empire builder for us. Having people that are really good at what they do help us.
So what made you want to grow your empire, right? So, it takes work, having multiple locations. You're located in the Indiana area, Indianapolis specifically, but what made you want to grow that?
Well, actually, we grew our practice by shrinking it. Um, so in the Indianapolis area, it was kind of a round interstate, just like most big cities. And we had 4 offices. Technically, we actually had 5 offices throughout the Indianapolis city area. And, we had 4 owners. And, over time, things change. We had one owner, her husband had passed away. She wanted to move to another city back to where she was from. We had another owner who had a couple kids and she wanted to stay home with them. So it was really just down to Terry and I. And as those other owners left, we tried to keep the offices that they were running, because we kind of had one owner in each office. We kind of kept those practices going. But what we realized was that the patients in each of those practices were actually attached to the owner, to the doctor. It was that personal relationship. And so we kind of let those practices go. One we closed or merged into the other office, one we sold, and we really kind of said, we're gonna put our stake in the ground in these 2 locations, and we're gonna try to make those 2 locations the best we can. And that really was a game changer for us. Our fixed costs stayed low, and it looked to us when we looked at other practices throughout the country that were really strong. That they did a good job of trying to grow very deep in a fewer number of locations. So that's really what we've done.
Interesting. And uh, how have you been successful? You kind of mentioned a little bit with the old owners retiring and getting out of the business. Or do you have associates now? Talk about that a little bit as you've been growing your empire, because eventually you can't do all the work, right? Um,
Yeah.
and so I think Michael Gerber, even I think it was his book, E-Myth, where he talks about, look,
Mhm.
don't have if you're not if you can't step away from the business, you don't have a business, you just have a job. So
Right.
talk to me about that a little bit.
So we've been fortunate enough to currently we have 6 associates,
Mhm.
and we've hired one new grad each year of the last 3 years out of IU School of Optometry. Um, and they're all awesome. They're all smarter than me and nicer than me. I always tell patients that younger than me, and they each bring something different. And when we have hired associates, we've asked each one of them, what makes you different? What makes patients want to, come and see you? What differentiates you? How do you help us differentiate the practice? So we have, a doctor who's interested in VT. We have one that's really into sclerals. We have a couple that really love dry eye. Um, and so that's really helped us diversify the practice and offer different things to patients and offer things to other ODs in the area. We get a lot of referrals from other ODs, especially for myopia management and VT. So that's pretty rewarding to have our colleagues, who we respect so much, send patients to us for care because they know they're going to come right back to them.
Yeah. So what keeps you up at night right now? Like, what are some of the biggest problems you're facing?
Uh, I have three teenagers. Actually, one is technically 20, but I still think of her as a teenager. So that keeps me up, especially the 18-year-old. He keeps me up a lot. All the things they get into and worry that you have about their future, and that they're going to be successful and meet good people and have a good life. That keeps me up. And the fact that we have 41 employees, and kind of a little bit of a responsibility to run a business when I don't have any business training, and realize that you're ultimately responsible for a lot of these people's livelihood and their family. So the pressure you know, to grow the practice is those are some of the things that certainly keep me up at night.
Yeah, I can empathize. It's hard. That imposter syndrome can sink in. It's like, what am I doing here? Why
Yeah.
are people working for me? And one thing interesting that helped me is I try to treat the business as its own person. And
Mhm.
so it was easy to have conversations like, look, the business needs certain things because
Mhm.
40 other people plus their families that rely on it.
Mhm.
So it was a little easier for me to make decisions that were tough when I started thinking of the business as its own person.
We've always prioritized in our practice, and we express this to our staff. All decisions are made based on what's best for the patient, based on what's best for the staff, and then lastly, based on what's best for the company. So we constantly reiterate that to our staff, and and we really do make decisions based on that. I mean, literally, we make decisions based on those three things.
And we talked about this. You even like I said, the business is its own person. You have the patient represented as its own person, like avatar, right? I think Ashley is her name. That's your avatar for your patient that you
Yeah.
can you talk about that a little bit more? Because I thought that was really unique what you said.
Yeah. So we started working with a marketing company, about 6 or 7 years ago, and they were wanting us to kind of tell us about our ideal patient, the one that we were looking for. And I was like, oh, we know her, we got her. Her name is Ashley, and we are very specific on what she was. And so sometimes when I start to describe this to new employees, they think we're talking about like an actual person. And it's like it's not a real person, but it sounds like it because we're very specific on who she is. She's a college educated, married woman who is between 25 and 50 years old. And she has two kids. One's in travel baseball, one's in dance. They have a golden doodle. She drives an Acadia. So sometimes we call her Ashley Acadia. They vacation at Disney World. Like, I mean, she has a full-time job, but she doesn't always work in the office. So she's busy, busy, busy. She's always got things going on. And so everything in the practice is related to Ashley, from the carpeting that we have to the paint, to the things that people hear when they're in the office, the music, even smell. We hired Scent Air to come in and create a smell for our office, and we have a patient advisory board made up of about 12 Ashleys, and we bring them in a couple times a year. We wine them and dine them and ask them questions and get their feedback, and then we make changes to the business based on their feedback. And Ashley really runs our practice, and we all cater to her.
Nice.
And the reason is because Ashley makes the majority of the healthcare decisions for her family, and actually the majority of the financial decisions as well.
That's yeah, that's something that I haven't heard many people do in this industry. So I think that's pretty cool that you all are doing that. And I love the level of detail. Like when you first told me, I thought you were actually talking about a person too. I was like, I know you're talking about an avatar, but wow, this is really detailed. The fact that they have a golden doodle and yeah, that was pretty cool. I liked it. Um,
Yeah.
so a lot of the complaints I hear now, staff costs going up, insurance reimbursement staying flat or going down. How are you dealing with those challenges? Because other ODs listening to this might want to know as well.
Yeah, we started about 3 years ago, with some outsourcing, and that's been tremendous. That's been a real help, because coming right out of COVID, I mean, it was hard to get people to even apply. I mean, we were excited. I remember back in the day when we were using ZipRecruiter or whatever, just, put something out there. We get hundreds of resumes, and, it was like, okay, well, 90 of these are garbage. And, then we got to the point right after COVID or during COVID, it was like, I mean, we'd get excited if we get a resume a week, and it was like, well, this person has a heartbeat. Let's interview them. And it's like, there's no way this person really fits our mold or understands what we're trying to do, let alone trying to train them. We started outsourcing. When I say outsourcing, we have remote coworkers, and they have been just absolutely fantastic. It's really allowed somebody like me who's technologically, handicapped, to really focus on Ashley when she's in the chair. So, I can continue to focus on her. I look at her. I'm not really well that great at how our EHR works. I can read some of it. I don't know how to put it in there. But I focus on Ashley while she's here, and the problems that she has, and I make sure she understands. I understand what the problem is. Let me show you that, and really focus on taking care of her problems. And that's what the remote coworkers have helped us do in the exam rooms, as far as scribes go.
Yeah.
And we're at this point now where we have, it was a big step, and it took some faith. But we have remote coworkers who answer the phone for us, through my business care team, and that was a big leap of faith, and it has gone very well. I never thought that we would be able to do something like that, especially here in the Midwest. Our patient base maybe wouldn't be that accepting, but the majority of patients I've talked to have no idea that the person they're speaking with is not in the United States. And it's really allowed us in the office to focus on the patient experience and the patient relationship. We built a new office about 6 months ago, and I got rid of the front desk. We have a kiosk, and, so it really allows us to not be on the phone when somebody comes in, but you really focus on the person who's walking in the door.
Yeah, it's interesting. As I'm doing these interviews, I'm hearing a lot of common themes. So for what I'm hearing from you is going back to what the patient really wants and going deep there, even specializing, right? So Ashley, she has a family, so myopia control fits very well into that. You said you have a dry eye practice, vision therapy practice. All that fits really well into what Ashley needs, and that's really cool that you saw that and you shifted your business in that direction. I think that's really interesting and really kind of cool to see you do that.
Yeah, we realized, hey, some of the, vision plans haven't increased reimbursement in 20 years. I don't think that's going to change for the rest of my career. We didn't make the rules. We're just trying to play the game. And so we realized that moving towards a little bit more of a cash-based model has been beneficial.
And it's I call it a win-win-win, right? It's a win
Mhm.
for the patients because they're getting the things that they wouldn't normally get. It's a win for the staff because they get to do better patient care, and the doctors get better patient care, and it's a win for the business. So it's everyone wins in that situation.
It makes it interesting. It's better than, just spinning dials all day.
So what excites you about the future in our industry?
I think the fact that the young people that are graduating from school come out with such passion and such great ideas. I'd say, I think the future of our profession looks bright. You hear all the time, when I was in school, it was, LASIK is going to, destroy optometry. And then it was online, glasses sales are going to destroy optometry, online contact lens sales. Then it was telehealth and, all these things that are going to destroy our profession. But what you realize is the consumer still has eye care needs. I mean, people are still nearsighted. People are still going to have dry eye. So I've seen, I'm getting old now, but I've seen in my career a lot of change in our profession, and the fact that we continue to adapt. And the one thing I really appreciate about our young ODs is they come out, we meet them early in the school process and the education process, and they think, I want to do this. And then you see them evolve and become more sophisticated in their thought process and be willing to adapt. And so that's one thing I'm excited about, is the fact that our profession continues to adapt, and it's due to the true passion for taking care of people. That I think is exhibited by our new docs, which that keeps us going.
Yeah, it's exciting to see that you're right. Even from like 10 years ago when we started our practices, There's a lot more folks that want more medical. They want more dry eye. They
Mhm.
want more. I want to help the patient more. And it's really cool to see that. And I know it's not right, wrong, and different. But the old, some of the older generations, they like refract and go. And it might be a
Mhm.
preference for most, but it seems like there's more of that interest in servicing the patient more.
Yeah, our new grads, our new docs, I'm like, hey, we got an IPL. I never thought we'd be doing IPL I mean, I didn't even know, when I was in school, and they're coming right out and going, okay, yeah, yeah, where's the buttons? They're ready to go. SLT and YAG, we didn't even hesitate. Our new doc started, and it was like, hey, you have SLT and YAG on your schedule. And she was like, cool. All right, let's get it done.
Oh,
So,
really good.
the fact that they're willing to roll with things and learn as they go has been really rejuvenating for me.
Yeah, that's awesome. So let's shift gears a little bit. I want to dive into who you are and what made you who you are today. So if you had to kind of time travel through time and give me like 3 to 4 impactful moments that you felt left a big impression on your life that led you to where you are now, building your empire.
Hmm. Yeah, I'd say, you know, probably the first was when in sixth grade when I got fit with contact lenses for the first time. So I'm a 10 diopter myope. So I see the world a little differently, literally, than a lot of people. And so that was the real inspiration for me wanting to go into eye care. My optometrist when I was a kid was very inspirational. I still think about him all the time, and how he would have run a practice. And my goal was always to join his practice. And he actually passed away suddenly from an aortic aneurysm when I was a fourth year optometry student in November, and it was like, boom, there goes, my career plans to go back in 6 months and join his practice. And, his widow sold his practice. And, so I had all these plans set up for years and had to pivot. And, so that really changed things quite a bit. And then the practice that I originally joined when I came out of school, I thought was going to be the practice that I would be in. And I realized that that wasn't going to work. And so she and I just didn't see eye to eye on the value of a practice. And so the guy that I had opened the phone book and then just randomly called the actual phone book, randomly called when I was an optometry student and said, hey, can I come hang out with you? Which is what I used to do because I'm such a nerd. When I was in school and spring break and fall break and Christmas break, I used to open the phone book in Indianapolis and just go hang out with docs. And they were so amazing to have me come in and hang with them. And they were so excited to have somebody who was interested in what they were doing. And they were so gracious with their time. And one of those guys was Terry Knoll. And I remember calling him and saying, hey, I need a job. I need just a couple of days a week. I've got another job. I'm going to buy this practice. And he said, yeah, we don't need you, but we'll figure something out. You come a couple of days a week and work. And, I did. And in the end, it was obvious to me that joining his practice and buying into his group was actually way better than the thing I was planning on doing. So that was a big moment. And I'd say the other one that was big for Terry and I both was, again, really hiring our COO and making the decision to do that. It was about a 2-year process to get that going, but those were the big things that I think kind of changed the trajectory of my career.
Interesting. So let's try and travel a little bit more. Let's say it's 4 days after you graduated IU School of Optometry. Knowing what you know now, what would you tell yourself 4 days after graduating?
The big thing I would say is, to have patience. When I graduated, I always felt like everything needed to happen so fast. And, um, some of the things that I've learned over time is it takes patience. It takes patience to develop the relationships that are necessary to make things successful. And um, early on in my career, when I was a new owner, I remember our average employee lasted about 9 months in our practice. And I remember when I got the second book as a gift from an employee about emotional intelligence, I realized I needed to kind of slow down a little bit and I don't have to make every change all at once. And so that that kind of set things up for me in that I really need to think and listen to what the information is coming to me instead of making a decision and then going with it. I really need to assess more of the information that's available to me. So I would say that would be a big change. Um, or that would be something that I would tell myself, because I think when I came out of school, you have that pressure of student loans and you're like, I got to take care of everything right now. I got to change the world right now. And I think it's true. You can change the world. It's just, it takes a minute.
Yeah, I think what is that quote? It's people overestimate what they can do in the short term, but underestimate what they can do in the long term.
In the long term. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's interesting. So that's been resonating with me more as well recently.
Hmm.
So, what do you like to do for fun? Like, what do you do outside of work? You mentioned your kids. Is there anything else you like to do outside of work?
Yeah. Well, I've started taking up golf a couple years ago. My son's baseball career finally came to an end, and it was like, what am I going to do with the 80 hours a week that we're not at travel baseball anymore? So he and I started taking golf lessons, and so I'm a rehabilitating baseball player with a terrible slice. So I'm getting better at golf. Um, I tend to go to the gym quite a bit because I'm getting old and I know resistance training is important. And my wife and I take a lot of walks. We have a fat dog that we like to walk. Our goal is to get to all 63 national parks before they add more. So we're making good progress on that list. We visited almost every state park in Indiana. So we continue to work on that. So we like to spend a lot of time outdoors. And I think I have 7 states left to visit. So, long term, after, I'd like to learn how to play a musical instrument. That's something I'm working on. Kind of narrowed down between the guitar and the piano. So,
Okay, that's pretty cool.
yeah.
So, Chris, we're gonna put this in the show notes. So people can find you on your LinkedIn or your company website, which is
Mhm.
visionquesteyecare.com,
Yeah.
and your email as well, which is cbrowning@visionquesteyecare.com.
Yeah.
Is
That's
there
probably
any
the best way to reach me.
the email? Yeah. Is there any
Yeah.
other way that people can reach you, or anything else you want to let people know about you?
Um, I'd say, more than anything, you know, the success that I've had in my career, or what success I've had in my career, is really due mostly to the people that I've worked with and the people who have the patience of working with me. So I'm excited about the future. As I kind of gradually, slowly move out of patient care and into more the process of kind of working on the business rather than in the business. I'm excited about the future. I still remain pretty active in our state association. I feel like that's really important, and spend a lot of time advocating on our behalf. So, if I were to leave a message, it would be, especially for young people, get involved and listen to what other people have to say. Your patients first, and then your staff. But also the other people that are smarter than you that have been doing this for a while. Listen to what they have to say and really take it to heart.
Excellent. Well, Dr. Chris Browning, thank you again for joining us.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
And thank you, listeners, for listening in or watching on the YouTube. If you learned something today, or laughed, or had any kind of emotions, please tell us about this. Please tell us about it and share the podcast with everyone you know. Thanks again, Dr. Chris Browning. And this has been another exciting episode of Optometrist Building Empires. And we'll see you next time. That's a wrap on another episode of Optometrist Building Empires. Thanks for joining. For show notes and more, visit buildingempires.live. This show is proudly sponsored by My Business Care Team. My Business Care Team was born out of staffing challenges my wife and I faced together, managing multiple optometry locations. We refined our approach at Classic Vision Care and now offer our expertise to others. If you're experiencing challenges with staffing and you'd like to set up a discovery call, we'd be happy to help you and connect you with the right resources. We'll see you next time.